Okay, back with some quick math. You guys wanted content on reflection, so we'll do that. I'm going to aim this video at grade 10, although reflection is really a concept that you are going to have to do grade 10, 11, and 12. So I guess I'll share it with all three grades. But we'll start it with the most basic concept. So I've already drawn a Cartesian plane for you there. You can see it. I'm going to make a coordinate over here. So let's call this coordinate A. And we're going to make coordinate A. Let's make it 2 and 3. Okay. So that's coordinate A. The coordinate A is 2 and 3. Okay, let's just show quickly here that this is my x-axis. And over here, this is my y-axis, right? That is a y. Okay, if I reflect in the x-axis, let's start with this. Okay, so let's say here we are reflect in x. So we are starting out with a being something, right? Let's go say a is x and y, and it's going to become something else. We're going to call it a prime. Okay, so a, when it's reflected in the x-axis, it's up here. Let's just put this in another color. If this is my mirror, if this is the mirror, right? Yep, that's a mirror. Then this is going to reflect from there, and it's going to go somewhere over here. Okay, so what we're going to notice is a prime goes down here, and your x value, as you can see, the x value stayed the same, it's 2, but the reflection in the y, whatever y was, right? So y was somewhere over here. If this is 3 units, the mirror image, the reflection is going to go here, 3 at the bottom, so that's going to give us a -3. Okay, so the reflection a became a prime, it became, the x stayed the same, the y became -3 when it was +3. Okay, so let's just write here, this is a generalization. So we saw that x stayed the same. What happened to y? Well, that became a negative y. Okay, so it's important, x stayed the same, y became negative. All right, let's see, let's for 1 second just get rid of this. All right, we don't need it for now. We'll probably use it again later. Okay, it's gone. We're going to do the same thing or something similar. We're going to now reflect in the y-axis. So this is going to be my new mirror. Okay, so if this is the mirror, the reflection is going to go on to this side and be somewhere over here. Okay, and then we'll call this one a double prime. A double prime, and what we notice is that if it goes from here, the y now stays the same. So my y value is going to be the 3, and the x value became something else. The x value was 2. It is now, so here it was 2 units. So obviously on this side it's also 2 units, so it will give us a -2. Okay, so let's just say quickly, what did we do? We reflected this time in your y-axis. Okay, yeah, I said x, let's say x-axis. Right, so we reflected in the y-axis. So what happened to a? A, well, not a prime. What happened to a? Let's just get rid of that. A, it was x and y. When it reflected, let's just look at the picture again. When it reflected from a over to a double prime, the x now became negative, and the y over there became positive. Right, so, well, the y stayed the same, rather. X became negative, y stayed the same. So let's do this. A double prime, x became negative, y stayed the same. Right, so we're going to stop for these two. Those aren't the only reflections you could do, right? Let me just add this over here. So this is going to come into play more later on. Let's get another color over here. Let's put this in green. I could also reflect in the line y equals x, right? Where that line is my mirror. Then the same distance from there to there would have to go there, and then I'll get a point somewhere over here. Okay, so for our senior grades, you will have to do that reflection as well. For now, let's ignore it. Let's make like it doesn't exist. Okay, so what I'm saying is, when I reflect in the x-axis, x stayed the same, y became negative. When I reflected in the y-axis, x became negative, y stayed positive. Okay, so how is that going to help me? That's going to help me if I have something like this. So let's get our pen again. Let's say you have a function, okay, some random graph. Let's call it y equals x squared plus 4. Okay, so that's a parabola. How does that parabola look? Just a rough sketch. It's a happy face that went up 4 units. Okay, and if I reflect this thing over here, let's change our color. If we reflect this in our x-axis, so the x-axis is my mirror, the reflection would go at the bottom over here like that. Okay, so that's obviously how the picture would look. How does the math look? What's the new equation? Okay, so we're reflecting in our x-axis, right? We're reflecting in the x-axis, so we're going to go look at this. Okay, so we're gonna say here we have an equation y equals x squared plus 4. Okay, great. Y, what happened to y? Y became negative. So I'm gonna write this again, but instead of y, I'm going to make y negative. X stays the same, and our constant obviously stays the same. So x stayed the same, y became negative. So this over here is the equation of the green one at the bottom. But when we write our equations, we don't want y to be negative, or rather we want y to be the subject. Okay, subject means it has to be alone on one side. So we're going to get rid of this over here. How are you going to get rid of that? Obviously divide by minus, but you have to do that to everything. Divide by minus, divide by minus. So this is going to give us a positive y, and your equation is going to be minus x squared minus 4. Now that makes a lot of sense because here our a value is negative, so it's a sad face, and this thing went down 4 units. Okay, it looks like it works. What did we just do? We said if I reflect in x-axis, x stays the same. So we went to this equation, we kept x the same. Y becomes negative. So we went to this equation and we made y negative. That's how we reflected in our x-axis. Similarly, right, how do we do the reflection in the y-axis? Let's get a new function up here, a new picture. So this is a function, right? Let's do a straight line graph there, and let's say the equation of this is y is equal to, let's say 2x. Let's make it 2x plus, well, that looks like it went down, right? So let's make it minus 1. Okay, and if I reflect this graph over here in my y-axis, so y is the mirror. If y is the mirror, where's this graph going to go? It's going to do something like that. So what's the equation of this green line? Okay, so now let's just go back to our generalization. And if I reflect in my y-axis, what happens? X became negative. Y stayed the same. Okay, so if I reflect in my y-axis, let's go to our equation over here, this one. What did we say about the y? The y stays the same. What did we say about the x? The x becomes negative. So I'm just going to put this in a bracket so that I know my x became negative. So this 2 is going to multiply with that. So this will equal to minus 2x minus 1. And that would be the equation of my green line over there. Okay, summary. If you are going to reflect in your x-axis, x stays the same, y changes, y becomes negative. If you're going to reflect in your y-axis, x becomes negative, y stays the same. Good luck.